Karen tried to seize my farmhouse. Too bad I had my great-grandfather's land patent in hand. Have you ever faced someone so entitled they thought they could take what's yours just because they wanted it? That's exactly what happened when Karen, a real estate developer with a clipboard and a vendetta, stormed onto my family's century-old farmhouse, claiming it was hers. The audacity was breathtaking. She stood on my porch, waving a stack of papers, declaring my land was part of her new luxury condo project. My heart pounded as I realized this wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a calculated move to steal my home. But Karen didn't know who she was dealing with, either the ace I held in my hand. It all started on a crisp autumn morning in rural Tennessee. I'd been tending to my vegetable garden when a sleek black SUV roared up my dirt driveway, kicking up dust like a tornado. Out stepped Karen, her heels sinking into the gravel, her designer sunglasses perched high. She didn't bother with pleasantries. "This property is under review for eminent domain," she snapped, thrusting a document at me. "You'll need to vacate within 30 days. My stomach dropped. Eminent domain? For condos? I scanned the papersome jargon-heavy notice from a company called Pinnacle Development. It claimed my 50-acre farm was essential for a public benefit project. Public benefit, my foot. This was about profit, plain and simple. I tried to stay calm. "There's got to be a mistake," I said. "This land's been in my family since 1883. Karen smirked like she'd heard it all before. "Doesn't matter. Progress waits for no one. Sign here and we'll discuss compensation." Compensation? For my great-grandfather's legacy? For the oak tree where my dad proposed to my mom? For the fields where I scattered my brother's ashes? I told her I wasn't signing anything and asked her to leave. Her eyes narrowed. "You'll regret this," she hissed before storming off. That night, I barely slept, haunted by the thought of bulldozers tearing through my home. The next day, I dug through my attic, searching for anything to prove my ownership beyond the deed I'd inherited. That's when I found it. A yellowed, leather-bound folder tucked in an old trunk. Inside was my great-grandfather's land patent, signed by President Grover Cleveland himself. A land patent is the original title from the U.S. government granting land to settlers. It's ironclad, predating any modern real estate nonsense. My hands shook as I read its legal description matched my property exactly. This wasn't just a deed. It was a shield, but I needed help to wield it. Enter Old Man Jenkins, my neighbor and a retired lawyer with a knack for sticking it to corporate types. He wasn't what you'd expect, no suit, just overalls and a twinkle in his eye. When I showed him the patent, he cackled. "Oh, Karen's in for a treat." He explained that land patents trump most modern claims, especially shady eminent domain grabs. Together, we pored over Pinnacle's documents, and Jenkins spotted something fishy. The public benefit clause was flimsy, tied to a vague promise of economic growth. No roads, no schools, just condos for rich folks. Jenkins grinned. "This ain't eminent domain. It's a land heist." Armed with the patent and Jenkins' legal know-how, I requested a public hearing at the county courthouse. Word spread fast, and soon half the town was buzzing about that city woman trying to steal my farm. The hearing was set for a Friday, and Karen showed up like she owned the place, flanked by two slick lawyers in tailored suits. The room was packed: farmers, shopkeepers, even the high school history teacher who'd brought her class to see justice in action. Karen's team went first, projecting glossy renderings of their condo complex, complete with a golf course. They droned on about jobs and tax revenue, but the crowd wasn't buying it. I caught a few eye rolls and heard a farmer mutter, "Who needs another golf course?" Then it was my turn. I walked to the podium, heart hammering, and held up the land patent. "This is my great-grandfather's legacy," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Signed by President Cleveland in 1883. This land isn't just mine, it's my family's, and no one's taking it for condos. The room erupted in cheers. Jenkins took over, dismantling Pinnacle's case like a master chef carving a turkey. He cited case law, pointed out flaws in their eminent domain claim, and dropped the bombshell. The land patent made my title superior to any modern dispute. Karen's lawyers scrambled, flipping through their notes, but they had nothing. Then came the twist. Mid-hearing, a wiry man in a flannel shirt stood up in the back. It was Tom, a surveyor who'd worked for Pinnacle until he quit a week earlier. He hadn't planned to speak, but he couldn't stay silent. "I surveyed that land," he said, his voice shaking. "Pinnacle knew about the patent. They found it in the records but told me to keep quiet. They thought you'd fold under pressure." The crowd gasped. Karen's face went white, her composure cracking like cheap glass. Tom's confession wasn't just a nail in her coffin, it was the whole hardware store. The judge, a no-nonsense woman who'd grown up on a farm herself, didn't need long to deliberate. She ruled in my favor, declaring Pinnacle's claim invalid and ordering them to cover my legal fees. The courtroom exploded in applause. Karen tried to slip out, but the crowd parted like the Red Sea, forcing her to face their glares. Outside, she was met by a local news crew who'd caught wind of the drama. Her stammered excuses didn't make the evening broadcast look any kinder. But the story didn't end there. Turns out, Karen's overreach was the tip of the iceberg. Tom's testimony sparked an investigation into Pinnacle development, uncovering a pattern of strong-arming small landowners across the state. Their CO resigned, and Karen was quietly let go. Last I heard, she was selling timeshares in Florida, a far cry from her real estate empire dreams. My farm is still standing, stronger than ever. I planted a new apple orchard this spring, right where Karen's condos would have been. Looking back, I'm grateful for that land patent, but more for the people who stood with me, Jenkins, Tom, the town. They reminded me that roots run deeper than greed. Karen thought she could bulldoze my life, but she didn't count on the power of legacy or the fury of a community wronged. Now, I'm curious, what do you think? Was Karen just doing her job? Or did she cross a line? And what would you do if someone tried to take what's yours? Share your thoughts, I'd love to hear them.